Gentlemen, welcome to the table. I appreciate you taking the time. I look forward to the conversation because we got a lot to talk about tonight.
We hope so.
But well, we do. We went through this whole drama about Trump and the Fed and who's going to be the new Fed chair. And there was Hassett and there was Warsh and there was Ricky Reeder, who, by the way, on Kalshi, I bet on Ricky Reeder. I really thought it was going to be Ricky Reeder. Warsh is here now, right? That's the name. So at least we know the name, and so now it's the process. So let's just talk about what's going to be the Powell legacy.
Got it wrong on the front, and maybe you got it right on the back. I mean, he's going to go down in history as saying that inflation was transitory, and then all of a sudden it was persistent. I don't think right now it's political theater. It's not economic policy or Fed policy. I think he can't change that legacy.
In my mind, he is a master of saying nothing. And I think that, honestly, to do that job, you have to be really, really good at that, right? That guy does not show. He's actually probably going to become a professional poker player for his next career, because honestly, there's so many times where, after one of these pressers, we're all sitting here, we're like staring at it like, what did he say? Did he say anything that I can write about tomorrow? Right. Yeah. And like, no, maybe he said this, or maybe he like kind of made a movement with his eyebrow, but look, he's data dependent, which means he's driving his car looking in the rearview mirror. Right. And so I'm thinking,
sometimes, unless it's about tariffs, then he's looking out the front windshield going, inflation's coming. I swear, it's
exactly.
I see it, but it's not.
I agree with you, and that's what always bugged me. Like they could be forward-looking at certain points, but for the most part, they're always backward-looking, and I think that's where they get it wrong.
History's written by the victors, right? So his legacy, it depends who's writing the history. So if it's somebody that hates Trump, they're going to talk about as like a smart guy who's carefully thought out inflation and craft this policy. And then you have somebody that likes Trump. It's like, well, this guy's the worst ever. And like, and I have to say, I'm in the latter, because like your job is to keep inflation down.
Right.
And so in the spring of 2021, we're getting 9% inflation prints, and we're still expanding the balance sheet by $50 or $60 billion a month with 0% interest rates. So like this inflation is rushing in your face, and you're like, well,
but wait,
it's
could he really have been that blind? I mean, because you're right, we all lived it. We're all sitting here when he's saying it's transitory, we're all going, no, it isn't. Well, even the guy in the street was saying, no, it isn't. But he kept telling everyone it was. Could he have been that blind, honestly?
So he wasn't managing to control inflation. He was managing to control the S&P 500.
I didn't know that was a mandate for the Fed to control the S&P 500.
Well,
that's the unwritten one.
That's the third mandate.
He should have been way more aggressive on the front end with the balance sheet and inflation, and we probably would have gone into recession, but we'd be in much better shape for it now.
Agreed.
For him to say they're like nonpartisan and non-political when you can make these comments about tariffs and about student loans, and it's like it becomes clear that it's like very fashionable in Washington to just be against whatever Trump is for, rightly or wrongly. And like, look, he's like, I'm a Trump supporter, but like doesn't mean he gets everything right. And so, but if you're against everything just because he said it, you're probably wrong half the time, at least, right? So his legacy, it will be coated over and sugar-coated, but the policy decisions he made starting in late 2020, when we were past the second stimulus came across in December, and the third came across in the spring. And between those two, that was like $5 trillion that was coming into the economy. It's like, well, we think it's transitory. It was helicopter money. He couldn't stop that, but he could control interest rate policy. And remember,
he could try, but like it brings up the question for Warsh, though, right? Like he said that he's going to do what it sounds like the president wants. I'm curious what you guys think. I think you get in that job and go, oh crap, this is a lot harder than it.
Well, 100%. I think that's
what I promised the president on my potential interviews to be the Fed president. Now I've got to backtrack on that and really look.
I think that happens every time. Yeah, I think that happens every time. Can I say something controversial?
Please.
The question is, how effective is the Fed with inflation, especially if it's supply push inflation? Because remember, that last bout of inflation really came from the supply side, right? So how can raising or lowering interest rates have affected that in any possible way? The Fed is, I think he probably found himself in a place where, oh, our tools are kind of useless against this at this point.
Yeah, but he did nothing.
I'll just say, like, he wanted to get confirmed again.
Right.
And he gave the policy he gave to get confirmed again.
Right.
And so you lost 6 months of tightening.
That's right.
And you tightened too slow into the worst inflation in 40 years. Like it's there's like a great Twitter account. You had one job.
Right.
Like his one job is to control inflation, and he didn't. So like, why would anybody say anything else?
Well, I will also say there's a follow-up to that, which is that I think the messaging is really important, not necessarily the interest rates. Okay, so if the messaging is that you don't care, then it's going to affect It's going to affect consumers.
Yeah, I think
consumers.
I think you're right. The messaging's even more important than the interest rates because look, the 25 basis point extra cut here or extra hike there, it's not going to have that much of an impact.
No,
It's
but
not
he
like it's
needed
that
to go
precise.
a
where
full
typically-
percentage point at the time when
His
he should have
messaging
he had
at
to
the
make
time.
he had to make a dramatic move.
His
which he chose
messaging
not
at the
to do.
time was easy money, easy money,
Right.
easy money. So hey, you know, you want a new dishwasher? Go out and buy it. Oh, it's $5,000, not $3,000, because there are none of them here in this country at the time. I'll
Right.
take it for $5,000.
Right.
New car? I'll take it. I don't
Right.
care what the price is. Easy money.
Right.
And that was the messaging that we were getting.
If you look at growth, like, again, I would love it if we had 15% growth. I'd take the under on Kalshi.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm with that. They just did away with the endangerment finding, right? So that was in 3 months they did a study of the Obama administration, which gave the EPA the ability to regulate greenhouse gases. Okay, that's done. So you know, Heritage says it's $1 trillion a year of annual cost. Okay, plus all the environmental regulations the Biden administration put in, or another $300 billion annually in regulatory costs. Well, that's going to take its time to work its way through the system. But you combine that with the tariff structure, the immediate depreciation from the big beautiful bill, the entrance of artificial intelligence, robotics, and now lower interest rates.
Well, what does it do to the labor market? So, right, this is a
Yes,
big argument
thank
here
you.
because that's the other side. It's not just interest rates.
Am I the only guy at this table worried? I'm not thinking 15%. I'm thinking, is the labor market going to survive? Because I'm seeing a very, very weak labor market right now, and I'm thinking that has to be triaged with lower rates.
Okay.
at this
Well, where are
point.
you seeing
Certainly
the weak-
messaging.
Where are you seeing the weak labor market?
Small businesses in particular, you're looking at job openings that are not there, and then you're starting to see, particularly in niche fields that were highly specialized, AI taking over. So IP litigation and patent drafting, you get into SEC legal fees, right? You don't need 19 different SEC attorneys to write S1 forms.
It's
now because
happening.
they're- yeah,
Just
it's
think
happening
about
right
how
now.
much more we can get done in a day
Yeah, no,
today
agreed.
than a year ago.
So I think you have the tricky thing for Warsh, which I say that and I always think I'm hearing my mom speak from North Jersey. I got to go do the Warsh, not, you know, that's his last name. The tricky thing for him is how do you manage the labor market, because you're going to get productivity gains that hold back hiring until we figure out where that new equilibrium is. Yes, every technological disruption has created more jobs eventually, but in the near term, it disrupts
It's
them.
a
It always
transition.
disrupts. Yeah, well, there's
It's going to
always
be it's going to be
Right.
an ugly transition. But I'm seeing it in the numbers. I mean, am I the only guy seeing the numbers? I mean, you watch that ADP NER Pulse, like that comes out now once a week.
ADP touches a big part of the.
But just look at the trend. I just look at the trend, right? And if you see the trend is pretty telling on what you can expect, you know, from the
Yeah, if there's a
government
lot
numbers.
of noise in the signal,
And
this
you're
trend
just
is
seeing
still
these are like paltry numbers that keep coming out.
If we go back to 2022, we're adding about 350,000 jobs on average a month. We're down to like below 50,000. So
Yeah, that's
there's
paltry.
true labor weakness. I don't know what the exit transition is, how it sorts itself out, but I think that's what the next Fed president's going to have to figure out.
Look, you know, the economy is not like an F1 race car. You know, like you can't turn on a dime with this thing. So when
Right.
you start to see the labor market falling apart, it's not like you can just suddenly say, "Oh, sorry, you know, we'll cut 25 basis points and it fixes the problem."
No, it doesn't.
You're gonna have to be aggressive. The messaging has got to be consistent. I mean, even if he's not cutting rates, it's got to be consistent messaging.
Okay, but to this point, even if they cut rates, to your point, how's it going to solve? How's it going to fix the labor market problem?
It's going to slowly start to make it more attractive for small businesses to expand and keep hiring, create new jobs, bring in someone that has skills in AI that can help a small business run. We're our own labs of innovation, figuring out how in our personal productivity we can use AI, but that can be transferred to small businesses that don't have any. You're running a local bakery or butcher shop, or our favorite, the pizzeria. You're not thinking about AI right now.
Right.
But a new grad or a young, mid-20s, someone that has just grown up with it, they can come in and optimize your business, create the margin to justify their expense. So I think you're going to get new job creation. I just think it's going to be messy.
I'm like a little bit more of a doomer on the labor market in the short term than you guys are.
Okay.
Like the speed with which AI is happening, there's never been a technology trend that's happened this fast.
Right.
And like I think net on the whole, like you probably do end up ahead, and you have very smart people saying the opposite of what I'm going to say. David Sachs, okay, CEO of Palantir, CTO of Palantir, saying that hey, this like AI is going to create more jobs and it's a tool. I think there's a lot of middle management that are just gone.
You can now write code with AI.
Yeah, yeah.
Think about you can have 20 programmers. You have one person
Right.
doing what. I mean, listen, they created their own
That's
exits.
right.
They created their own exit.
I have a lifelong friend that's been a coder, has had multiple exits in software. He texted me 4 months ago and was like, I don't do any coding at all anymore. I just go back and forth with Anthropic and Claude. And then he texted me the other day. He's like, I don't do anything anymore because I created an agent to do all my coding for me while I'm sleeping. So
Claude bot, right?
I mean, that's where I think in this software Mageddon or SaaS apocalypse, as we're calling it, right? The moniker that it's getting. The one thing that shows me that's not just a freak out about valuations or what the business is doing is if you look at job postings on Indeed.com for software, they're just cratering. So there's some true shift. There's a paradigm shift happening there.
It's real.
Yeah.
Guys, it's real. I'm
I don't know
telling you,
how
it's
it
real.
settles
We
itself
haven't
out.
seen the numbers really show up in the numbers that we like to look at, but I definitely see, you could see it. You could feel it. It's one of those things where it makes sense and our projections sort of match what's actually happening. So I'm with you on this one. I think we're at the tip of the iceberg for the pain.
Warsh is going to have to go in, and he's going to have to have a lot of sit downs with the committee members because he's got to get them on his side.
Remember,
right?
he's
Because
one vote.
He's one vote because it is a majority
Everyone
vote.
forgets that. Everyone
That's right.
forgets that.
And everyone's talking like he's just going to make the decision. He's not. He's got to have support from the majority. So he's going to have to sit down because there's a handful of them that are saying, whoa, 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 slow down, not so fast. We don't think we need to cut rates. We made all these cuts.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to sit down and have these conversations. I don't know how successful he's going to be right off the bat.
That's a good point. I want to tell you, look, we've been following these Fed folks for our whole careers.
Right.
And I have never in my career seen such a vocal Fed.
Right.
So willing to go out on a limb and say, this is what I'm doing. I don't agree with this guy. It's never been like that. before.
Which I think, by the way, is a negative because I think all those conflicting interviews
Exactly, it's the messaging.
when they all get up and they talk, they all say something different, then they agree, then they disagree. It creates mass confusion. For
Well, it's that third tool, the verbal intervention,
Right.
right? And they're not on the same page, the messaging.
So I wonder if that's going to change under Warsh.
It's going to be tough.
Chairmanship.
How can he change that? Like what can he tell them to do? It's
Not talk to the media.
It's a different world. It's like a different generation. When we were young, we listened to our parents, right?
Yeah.
But now the kids today tell us what to do.
Right,
It's a
but when
different
we
world,
were young in this business, you never heard from the other 11 members
No,
of
you
the
heard from
you heard
Greenspan,
from Greenspan.
and
That's
that was
all you
it.
heard from.
That was
Why are
it.
the two old
Greenspan
guys
was-
talking about being so old? Like, we're not that old. Come on.
Greenspan was the only one on TV. Greenspan was the only one who did the interview.
Yeah, he had the
now there's
briefcase
everybody doing
indicator.
it. That's right.
That was it.
Now everyone's doing the interviews.
And they're
which
not
creates
afraid to
confusion.
say.
So I don't know how Warsh is going to handle that.
It's going to be hurting cats. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy.
No, it's not. That's a wrap for today's Trader Talk. But the conversation continues. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. You got questions or topics you want covered? Email us at tradertalk@yahooinc.com because we're always listening. Until the next time, stay sharp, stay disciplined, and stay in touch.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.